Jedi, it's your Jedi Knight, it's your Obi-Wan Kenobi, it is Christian Fandom Geek. How you guys doing? Just thought I'd say a quick hello. It's not going to be a long one to be fair, but I like to be quite sociable. Yesterday was my birthday as well. I had a lovely one. My wife treated me and we had a great time. Family treated me, had a great time. And so I'm feeling blessed. And I thought, you know what? Let me talk to the audience, to the YouTube world, and say, it's your boy, Christian Fandom Geek. And we went to see Mufasa. Um, Now, obviously, in terms of films, the talk is Sonic 3 versus Mufasa. That's been the talk for the last few weeks. From what I've seen with the data, Sonic 3 has done very, very well. And there is an episode coming up soon. I'm going to be deconstructing Sonic 3 as well. So look out for that. Mufasa was okay. If I'm giving it a score out of 10, I'd probably go 6.5 to 6.7. It's okay. It has a lot of work to do because it's a live action version of a classic film that it was, well, everyone loved the original Lion King. The live action version of Lion King didn't quite have the same je ne sais quoi as the original one. And so it was hard then to do another live action version of it. I always find as well, thinking about sequels, actually, this is a really good point. Thinking about sequels. When you think about sequels, it's really hard to actually think of a lot of movies that are a multi-installment, sort of franchise where you have part one, part two, part three, or at least part one and part two. It's very hard to make the sequels better than the original film. And there's a reason for that, guys, by the way, guys and girls, there's a reason for that. It's always easier to tell an origin story in any kind of, whether it's a book or comic book or film or TV show. The origin story is always the easiest. Part one is always the easiest part of the story to tell because you get to see the origin of the hero. You get to see the hero and go from the ordinary world into the supernatural world or the special world, if you think about the hero's journey sort of archetypes. And that journey of meeting the mentor, that journey of going into the special world is always an interesting story. Think of Star Wars, think of A New Hope, think of Luke Skywalker, think of his life as a moisture farmer, whatever he was doing there, and then he meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they have the Empire on their tail. That's a really interesting story because you see Luke as he previously was as a farm boy going into them being, learning about his father Anakin to a degree, and then essentially also starting his journey to become the hero. So origin stories are always the best type of stories. They're the most interesting. Spider-Man, again, gets bit by a spider. Peter Parker, you see him transform from an ordinary lad, ordinary geeky boy at high school, turning into the Spider-Man, turning into a hero. The epic bro. Hi, hello, my friend. God bless you. You always see that transmogrification, that paradigm shift from an ordinary person into the hero, going into the hero's journey. It's always an interesting story. Think of Neo, the Matrix. You see him going from Thomas Anderson to go to make his way to start to become Neo. Again, origin stories are the easiest story to tell and the most interesting story. They're the most interesting stories you can get. They're really, really fascinating story. And there's some of my favorite stories that you can actually get in terms of actually seeing a person start from being ordinary and then start to go on their hero's journey. Fascinating. When it comes to sequels, you've already essentially got the hero in there, sort of, they're already in motion to being a hero. And obviously what happens in Hollywood most of the times is they think, okay, second story, second installment of a franchise, second movie, second arc in the narrative has to be more. So you want more characters, you want more heroes, you want more villains, bigger, you want bigger action sequences, you want it bigger and better. And that's literally an interesting phenomenon that you get. But stories that are of that sort of nature, they don't just need it to be bigger, you also need nuance as well, and you need it to be interesting. I'm talking about the hero's journey, guys. I'm talking about sequels. I started off talking about Mufasa a little bit, and why it's difficult for a sequel to be better than the original installment of a show. It's always one of them ones where it's like it's harder work. Now you've already got the hero in motion, but it's harder work to keep a captivating story, and you have to be aware of things like the magical power levels. It's the idea of sort of what levels of power do you want your hero to have, and how do they mix. And if you make your hero too powerful too quick, it takes away tension from the story. So you have to balance the magical power system. It's called a magical power system. You have to balance that with the tension of the story. Now in Mufasa, the magical power system is basically just lions roaming around. There's not much difference in that effect really, but it is interesting because they do actually give Mufasa a type of power which you don't really see in the original Lion King film. So it is a bit of a spoiler here, but he does have a power, and I would probably brand it as kind of a very strong sensory intuition of his surroundings. Now you don't really pick that up in the original Lion King movies, but in this film they've given him a power, and it's that sort of, like I say, it's that kind of sensory intuition that is unusually accurate to a level where it's kind of like Zen Jedi Master level, where he's kind of interacting with surroundings and seeing things beyond his geographical location to such a degree of accuracy that he's almost like some Jedi lion. It's actually quite funny, but he's almost like some Jedi lion. I actually enjoyed that as a part of the film. It was interesting, and they used it as an interesting story arc as well, to be able to kind of, as a plot device, to be able to induce tension as to, oh, they're in trouble. These bad guys are coming after them. This guy who's like Jedi level, Yoda level Zen Master Lion has picked up. Oh yeah, this is kicking off now. So anyway, yeah. So I'd say in that respect, me banging on about sequels, I'd say this: it is tricky to be able to actually make a good sequel and make it more interesting than the original hero's journey, original story. It is tricky. You have to introduce a lot more characters. You do, because you have to broaden the scope of the world of your world building. And when you broaden your world building, you have to not lose the essence of what made the first story so great. Some stories managed to do it. So Star Wars managed to do it. The Empire Strikes Back is a better film than A New Hope. So the original Star Wars trilogy managed to do it. Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson movies managed to do it. The Two Towers and The Return of the King are better films than The Fellowship of the Ring. So they managed to actually do that. They were successful at making at building the world out, opening the universe out, opening the imaginary universe out, but still keeping a strong core of what made the original episode or film amazingly great, and the fans loved it. They managed to keep that thread really strong. Matrix films did not manage to do it. So if you watch the Matrix film, the first film is the best film by a long country distance, and then the second film, Reloaded, is good. It's a good film, but it's not as good as the first. And then I think it's Revolutions is the third one, is like the worst film out of all of them. And then Matrix 4 is not even worthy to be compared to the original trilogy. The Matrix 4 film is one of the worst films of all time. As a film building off a pretty successful trilogy, it's one of the worst films of all time. And so in that respect, it shows you that it's really hard to maintain sequels and to keep the quality and the original thread, and to keep the original nuances and the original flavor and the original sort of verve that you get in the first film, great story arcs that you get in the first film. When you're expanding the worldview and opening the world up to the audience, okay, now we're going to show you this, now we're going to show you that, you've still got to keep the heart of the story strong. In Mufasa, because it's a prequel, you're not even going to get you get some of it, but not all of it, because it's a prequel. But also, I'd say Mufasa is okay. It's a good film. It's watchable. It's a good 6.5 out of 7 out of 10. 6.5 to 7 out of 10. It's worth watching, but it's not on the level of Sonic 3 that manages to expand its worldview, expand more the Sonic universe, but still keep the sort of strong character arcs of Sonic and Tails going from the second film, and keep the strong character arc of Sonic going from the first film. So that's just a little one. It's a short little video for you guys. In terms of the comments, I haven't read most of them because half of them are being a bit ad hoc and weird, and I've ended up deleting, and I think they've ended up deleting. You guys have deleted yourselves because I don't know what's going on there. Crazy hour in YouTube world. So yeah. But I would recommend this, guys. There's a lot of episodes on my channel, Christian Fandom Geek, and on the Lord With You podcast show. So if you're interested in the hero's journey and interested in episodes that talk about films and great franchises from a Christian point of view and the archetypes of the hero's journey, check out Christian Fandom Geek, and we'll be with you again very soon on Christian Fandom Geek and the Lord With You podcast show.